Good morning. We welcome you here to our commission meeting on this Tuesday, the 27th day of February 2018. This morning we've got a lot of great representation here, and we we'll proceed as follows. Our invocation this morning would be by Brian Benyon. Then we'll move to a Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Brooke Stewart, and our thought for the day will be by Commissioner Ebert. Mr. Benyon.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful to meet in this commission meeting today. We're grateful for the pleasant circumstances in which we have to meet. We're grateful for this great country in which we live. We pray that Thou will continue to bless and watch over us. We're grateful for all the service that's provided throughout the county, and for all the residents and the many things that they're willing to do to make Weber County a great place to live. We're grateful again for all that Thou does for us, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Quick thought today. When you invest your time, you make a goal and a decision of something that you want to accomplish, whether it's make good grades in school, be a good person, go down and do something in your community in service and help somebody who is in need. Whatever it is you choose to do, you're investing your time in that item. That was by Nick Saban. I would also include that truly who you surround yourself with is a representation of who you truly are. Thank you.
Thank you. Terrific. We'll move on to item E in our agenda. This will be a rather quick commission meeting today, we think. Item E has to do with consent items. Number 1 is a request for approval of warrants 1361 and to 1366 and 425866 to 426124 in the amount of $1,169,352.26. Item number 2 on that part of the agenda is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $206,572.97. Item 3 is a request for approval of the minutes for the meeting held on February 20th, 2018. Item 4 is a request for approval of the new business licenses. Item 5, request for approval to cancel the Weber County Commission meeting scheduled for March 6th, 2018. And the next meeting will be held 10 a.m. on March 13th, 2018. Entertain a motion or entertain questions. No questions? Lynn, if you'd take us through some detail, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. We had 18 purchase orders totaling $207,000. The largest of these, 54% or $111,000 went to the library for computer equipment, and 41% or $86,000 went to roads for road base, chip seal, sand, and rock. We had 265 checks for a total of $1.2 million. 67% or $778,000 went to medical and dental insurance for employees, and 7% or $77,000 went to Weber Housing Authority for housing payments. Everything else was less than 5%.
Great, thank you. Any thoughts or comments on that, Commissioners?
I'll make a motion we adopt the consent items as read.
I'll second.
Motion and seconded. Any more question, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. On to item F of our agenda, action items. Ms. Stewart, the next 3 items. The first one is a request for approval of a local transportation agreement by and between Weber County and Huntsville Town to establish terms related to the Huntsville Town Highway 166 project. Ms. Stewart.
Right. Thank you for having me this morning, Commissioners.
Thank you.
I am pleased to present this recommendation to you for the Huntsville Town Highway 166 project. This project is, Huntsville Town is seeking to construct a pedestrian pathway that will increase pedestrian capacity and will eliminate the inherent safety risk and mitigate congestion caused by the existing pathway configuration for its current and future users. The pathway will begin at the terminus of the existing pathway and will end 450 feet west of Huntsville Corner. The end of the pathway will connect the north side of 100 South, where it's intersected by 7700 East. Huntsville Town's committed $30,300 towards this project, and they're seeking sales tax funds in the amount of $148,024 for the construction. This request was approved by WACOG in the December meeting and was part of the priority list that was approved by the Commission on December 12th. If you have any questions concerning this project, I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't have any questions, but a comment. First of all, I think it's just from a broad perspective, it's been neat to watch the success of this transportation fund, and Brooke, you have a lot to do with that success, as you have administered that fund for a few years now. As a member of the transportation subcommittee of the COG, I had a chance to look over all these projects that were approved, and I'm grateful that they all were quality projects that had been put forward with good intent and good purpose and need, and with some good reasoning and thought process behind it. This is one in particular that, if I remember right, Huntsville hasn't had a project before, and this doesn't seem like a large dollar amount, but when you go look at this in person and you see the challenges that they face and the safety hazard that's there, I just think that it's really a positive step forward that they've brought this to us, and it's one of my favorite, one of the best projects I think on the list, and so I just want to congratulate them for figuring out how to solve this challenge, this need, and thank you and Douglas for your effort in putting this list together and making it work for all the members of the COG and all the residents of Weber County. So thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the local transportation agreement by and between Weber County and Huntsville. I think it's been vetted over the course of several years, and we're ready to move forward on it.
Motion and a second. There's no further discussion. I'll call for the vote on this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. On to item number 2, a request for approval of local transportation agreement by and between Weber County and West Haven City to establish terms related to the West Haven City 2550 South project.
Yes.
Stuart?
So this one is actually an amendment request for 2550 South from West Haven City due to increased land cost and unexpected right-of-way acquisition expenses. They had come back and requested an additional $297,400 to complete the right-of-way acquisitions along their Phase 2 down to the city's boundaries. This request was approved by WACOG in November. I'm happy to answer any questions you have concerning this project as well.
Commissioners?
I don't have any questions. We're happy to see these projects moving forward. I'm happy to make a motion.
Does this, Brooke, does this include the extension to 3500?
This is just the corridor preservation portion. So they're going to the city boundary. Weber County is going to take care of the corridor preservation or right-of-way acquisitions to 3500 and beyond, actually.
Another really good project. I'm excited to see them moving forward and benefiting the community. Thanks.
Have a motion.
I'll second.
And a motion and a second. With no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are on to item number 3, a request for approval of local transportation agreement by and between Weber County and Hooper City as established terms related to the Hooper City 5500 South project.
Yep.
Stuart?
This project is seeking to widen and improve 750 feet it's on 5500 South between 4600 West and 4700 West. Just east of the proposed project, some development has been completed and they have installed some improvements of curb gutter, storm drain. And so they're just looking to fill that gap just west of that development down to 4700 West. This project is right near Freedom Elementary, so it solves a pedestrian safety risk that's there to help the kids that are coming from the west have a sidewalk to get up to the elementary school. Also, they're installing some turning lanes at 4600 West and 4700 West, so it'll be a traffic safety project as well. They're requesting $29,972 in corridor preservation funds to do the right-of-way acquisition, and $251,603 in sales tax funds for the construction. Hooper City is contributing $15,000 to the project for the extension of the sewer line that will go to the 3 residents just adjacent to the project. This was also approved in WACOG in December and on your priority list that was approved in the commission on December 12th.
Thank you for checking these off. I appreciate that. Any discussion, commissioners?
How can you vote against children's safety? That's a go.
Well, it's been done before, but let me just mention for the public that is here today, I hate to see these opportunities go by without helping to have a little bit of education. And I'll just say that, some people in our community really understand the need for transportation funding. Some maybe not so much, but this is not one of those things where this is money that could go somewhere else, and I just want to make that clear. This is a result. These projects are funded with our third quarter sales tax increment that was passed 2008, and so this is transportation projects that can only be transportation projects are the only thing that can be funded from that funding source. And so it's the COG's responsibility and ultimately the commission to prioritize those funds and move them forward. And I think they've done a great job of doing so. So with that, I'll make a motion that we approve the project between Hooper City and 500 South.
Second.
Motion and a second. Without any further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're on. Thank you, Ms. Stewart.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Also, just by way of mentioning, I've noticed we've got former Senator Scott Jenkins in the audience, and we welcome you here today. Thank you. Item number 4, a request for approval of an interlocal agreement by and between Weber County and Morgan County regarding the Weber-Morgan Health Department board restructure. Our presenter today is Brian Barron. It says Barron on there, but I think we want to say Benyon.
We do have a Brian Barron.
We also have Brian Barron.
I'd love Brian Barron to do it, but I'll be happy to, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. Brian Benyon, Health Department Director. And also, I'm Secretary to the Board of Health. And in that capacity, I've been asked to present a recommendation by the Board of Health to the Commission. And I have just a brief statement that I want to share with you. The Board of Health is looking at board membership and exploring ways to improve representation of the community on the board. The Board of Health set up a bylaws committee, which was made up of 5 Board of Health members as well as 3 staff members to review how the board is presently organized and determine if there is a better way to organize the board to improve representation of the community. Committee members gave a recommendation at the January 22nd, 2018 Board of Health to change the 11-member board to a 13-member board representation. And that would go as follows. There would be 1 county commissioner, 1 representative of Ogden City, 1 Morgan County Council individual member, 1 Morgan at large, 1 Weber Medical Society, and 1 WACOG, along with 1 school district, which would be rotating between Weber and Ogden School District with 3-year terms, 1 representative from Weber State, which represents either health administration or public health, 1 representative of the Weber Human Services Department, 1 member from the Midtown Community Health Center, and 1 representative from the hospitals rotating between McKay-D and Ogden Regional. We'd still have the 2 at-large positions, but the focus would then be on 1 with business interest and 1 with environmental interest. The result of that would be to reduce representation on the present makeup of the board from 3 county commissioners to 1 and from 2 WACOG members to 1. And then that would free up 5 positions to add the school district, Weber State representation, Weber Human Services, Midtown Community Health Centers, and hospitals. And then again, as I mentioned, the focus for the at-large would change to really focus on business and environmental interests for those at-large positions. This is made as a recommendation by the Board of Health. There was a vote in our January 22nd meeting, 7-2 on the board to recommend this to both the Weber County Council Commission and the Morgan County Council. But since the Weber Morgan Health Department was created by an interlocal agreement, changes to the organization and membership of the board would come through the two legislative bodies in the form of an amendment to the interlocal agreement. The board may make the recommendations, but ultimately it is the decision of the participating counties. Are there any questions?
Commissioners, before you have any questions, Mr. Crockett, you've sent some information regarding this. Commissioners, that we address the board's recommendations, but this matter will come before us again for approval at some point, because there is some, there has to be an agreement between us and Morgan County. Mr. Crockett, did I understand that correctly, and is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yes, you're welcome to approve the recommendation given the authority for the inclusion of the provisions in the interlocal. But during that process, the interlocal has actually not been updated since 2004. So I would be working with the Morgan County attorney to go through that, update all of the provisions, and then once Morgan County Council agrees, then I'd bring it back for final review and approval.
Commissioners.
Well, my question is for you then, Chris, and I'm just curious. I was kind of surprised to see this pop on the agenda today as an amendment yesterday, right before 10 o'clock. I had received a text from our staff saying that Mr. Benyon had asked for it to come on the agenda on the 13th, and then I immediately saw this pop up, and I'm curious because it sounds like we can't really make a decision today, or we can say that we want to move forward, but we don't know what the language is. Is that what you're expressing?
We're limited in what we can do today because we're still in the process of updating the actual text of the interlocal agreement. The language that was sent to you regarding the board composition, the recommendation, that's the majority of the changes. And so if you're comfortable saying, yeah, we are okay or we're not okay with this this recommendation, that gives me enough direction to go forward with the process and draft the interlocal in accordance with that direction. But you're right, it will require an extra an extra step by addressing it today. We can do it, but usually interlocals are completely drafted.
It would make more sense to me to know exactly what we're voting on, but why are we doing it today then? What's the point of doing this today? Is there something that you need done today, or in order to move the process forward, or just
From me, no. There's no reason why I have to have it done today, but maybe other interested parties would have a reason.
I was just curious if there was, the way it, when you get an amendment 24 hours before the meeting, you assume that there's some kind of a emergency that pushes something forward. I was just curious if that was the case.
I know it's an issue that the parties have said, let's get this done as quickly as we can. But whether it's heard today or the 13th, from the legal perspective, it's
okay. All right,
no
great.
reason.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, is there any recommendation?
Well, I'll make a motion we approve the interlocal agreement between Weber County and Morgan County regarding the Weber Morgan Health Department board restructure. We'll revisit some, if there are substantive changes, I guess, at another date if that is needed.
I'm Commissioner. I'm not going to second it. As you know, I voted against this in the committee, so I don't know if you want to second it, and then I can discuss why, or if you want me to discuss it, then you can decide whether to second it. It's up to you. I just don't want to run over the process.
Thank you very much. I will second the motion, and you're welcome to go ahead and speak.
All right, thank you.
Chair Harvey, this is Cortland over here.
Thank you.
Is there an actual interlocal agreement before you that's amended and subject to approval today?
So it would be an approval of the recommendation.
Approval of the recommendation. Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Cross.
because the motion I heard was to approve the actual interlocal agreement. I don't think that's before you.
I think it's we have to approve the recommendation by the board. So would you like to make a substitute motion?
So moved.
Okay, so
And so I will second there, so we have the formality. Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Mr. Gibson.
So I think that definitely represents one of my concerns, as I just explained it. I don't know how else to say it other than I don't understand. It doesn't seem ready. I don't like. I mean, I personally don't agree with the recommendation that was put forward. I've expressed that already, but I also don't understand again why we'd want to do this twice. But I'll leave that to your own, to the public's own figuring, I guess, and understand what that might be about. But I guess my biggest concern with the recommendation is simple. We have been through a lot of challenges on the Board of Health. There's no question. There's good, solid, vigorous debate and discussion from time to time, and that's a positive thing. And what I do agree with is that we ought to figure out how to take as much input as you can possibly take on the Board of Health to make good public policy. There was a time several years ago when it did get a little personal, and there were some things that were said that were probably unfortunate from my perspective about you commissioners make this political, that type of thing, and unfortunately I hate to hear that, because whenever we have discussion, the last thing we want to do is disparage one another by impugning motives or whatever. And I worry just a little bit about the makeup for this reason, about commissioners leaving the board. And that is that whatever we do in a case like this, especially in this structure of the health department, there has to be strong accountability, and to everyone. I actually got a phone call last night about from a constituent about a major concern with the Board of Health. I haven't had the chance to bring that up to Brian. They generally, every time I've called you, Brian, with a concern like that, they've been addressed, and I appreciate that, so I'm thankful for that. But I guess my point is people know where to go with those types of concerns. They know that they have an elected official that represents them as their voice on a board like this. And as many voices as we can get as well, I think that's a positive thing. But when we eliminate those voices from an elected perspective, I think that does break down slightly the ability for people to feel accountable for not that the health department doesn't feel accountable, but for the public to feel like there's a direct accountability through an elected official to that board. Now, I understand there's still going to be a member of the commission on the board, but I'm trying to think of other examples in county government where there is actual policy being made and actual money being spent where there's not there's not a high level of that accountability through an elected official. And I just think it's safer that way. I think it's safer to make sure that no commissioners in this particular case, where we only have 3, are left out of that process, where if a particular commissioner receives a phone call like I received last night about a concern, that they feel like they have standing as a member of that board to represent the 200 and nearly 50,000 people that were elected to represent. And I'm assuming, in fact, I'm positive based upon the discussion in the board that this is going to pass today and on the 17th, and that's fine. I'm okay with voting in the minority here. I'm also okay with that, Brian, because of who we have leading the department and the staff that you've assembled. That I'm confident that you'll handle this appropriately with a new structure. But I just leave a warning that I think that this is not generally the way I'd like to see our public policy direction be handled in the future. And so I say that as a voice of concern and warning, but gratefully that I'm not nearly as concerned in this case because of who we have managing that department. So those are my concerns. I feel like it's again, it's just if I can focus on one word, it's every person out there, every person, every constituent that we have really needs to feel like there's accountability through an elected official to the extent that they possibly can, and that's why I'm just a little concerned about the change. So there's my thoughts.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other comments?
Thanks, Commissioner Gibson. I can appreciate that. I know, having sat in those subcommittee meetings, that was wrestled with. How best to get the representation, what should we do? I think it all came back that the ultimate decisions or the final decisions of the budget, and that is made by the legislative body, so the commissioners have that final say. We certainly want to be responsive to any complaints, whether they come from the public or whether they come from the commission. We want to make sure our staff are responsive to those, and we want to be transparent in what we do as well. Thank you for those.
I appreciate
comments.
it. Thank you very much.
Any other comments from the commission?
Well, I was going to say no, but then I was going to talk again. So I think I'll just skip the no and just say something. The commission still has the ability to address specific issues with the financial component for sure. I agree with Commissioner Gibson, the more people at the table, the better. I want to feel extremely comfortable that we have subject matter experts around the table. And that's what we've created here. We brought more people that have more contact. We have school districts now, and that's a tremendous resource for us to tap into. We are now partnering with Midtown and with Ogden Regional and with IHC. I'm not supposed to say that. Intermountain Health, to understand their specific needs. Our community continues to grow, and we need to have all of these community members involved in our health. Our health is one of the major factors within our communities, safety, security, and health. And I believe that this is the next step in better understanding how we can create healthier communities. So I applaud those that have put a tremendous amount of time in really looking throughout the community and seeing what gaps we were missing from the viewpoint of subject matter experts. I'm appreciative of the concern politically and having those voices at the table, but I feel those voices will be at the table. They have been in the past and they will continue to be. And so I fully support moving this forward.
With my comments, I'll say that same existing board of 11 voted several members to sit on that subcommittee to do the research. Having had served on that subcommittee, I'm grateful for the research that went into that. I'm one who feels just because I may have had the ability to get elected that I may not have the same expertise as someone from Midtown Clinic or from a hospital or from environmental or a local business. I don't have all the answers, and I like the feeling of people who do it all day, every day, being able to weigh in on that. The fact that the Weber Morgan Health Department still will be responsible to the Weber County Commission in their budget gives the Weber County Commission fiscal responsibility still and certainly an attachment. I'm grateful for that. I can tell you that I like smaller government, and from going from 7 elected officials on an 11-member board to 3 elected officials on a 13-member board shows us that we have more community representation and smaller elected official representation, and I think that's healthy. So those are my comments pertaining to that. We have a motion on the floor in a second. Is There's no more discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Can I ask one more question, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
As far as the subcommittee that made the recommendation was concerned, Mr. Benyon, was there talk of it could be, as the chairman said, I love having those additional voices. Was there talk of adding those voices without reducing the representation from the elected bodies?
Yeah, there were several scenarios that were looked at, and the one that came out of the committee was the one that was presented to the board, but they did look at that.
Was there any, can you think of any, I mean, was there any overwhelming issue or reason why you felt like just it was a board size, or why you couldn't add additional voices without reducing the number of elected officials?
I think the size became something, what's best manageable, but I can't speak to all of that, but could certainly have.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Great. Again, if there's no more questions, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Or nay.
Nay.
We have
whatever you
one
want to
nay.
call it.
So we have 2 ayes and a nay.
That was a 2-2 vote right there.
Oh, good, it failed.
The motion carries.
Darn.
We have now an opportunity to hear from our public, but before we do, I notice there are some other members in the audience from a well-deserved Fremont High School who recently also won a state championship with one of their areas, and we welcome you two gentlemen here. We hope that you're not here doing community service, but are fulfilling an assignment somehow within your school. Okay, the shaking the head up and down is the right answer. Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad that they stayed the whole meeting. This
Well,
was
it's a requirement of their class.
well, that's good, because I already signed saying that they're here. Full time.
If you limit your, this is now the time for public comments. If you'd please limit those comments to 3 minutes. We welcome you to come forward.
Welcome students from Fremont. Fremont's experiencing some great things. My daughter's best friends are on that basketball team that took state Saturday, so great things happening out there. I'm Lori Brinkerhoff, 6205 West, 4700 South, Hooper, Utah. I had the ability to attend the Weber Morgan Health Department board meeting last night, and I just wanted to speak to item 4. I did stand up and express these feelings yesterday, but I'll just reiterate them one more time. But I do, as a citizen, I guess I approve the interlocal agreement between Weber County and Morgan County in making this change. I just look at it as a simple restructure to the board. And as I stated yesterday, obviously sitting through that meeting and hearing the presenters in the meeting and the types of topics that were presented in the meeting, whether it be looking for compensation for vaccines, it was so apparent to me that we should have individuals with operation and institutional knowledge participating on this board. That as a layman, quite often you're going to be playing catch up. And so I think this is a great move in the right direction, and that we should invite those voices to the table who have knowledge of the topics. It was feeling to me a little bit legislatively heavy, and I think this will bring the right eyes and the right scope to the conversations. And again, to address the concerns about citizens, obviously those members of the health board are listed on the website. I've accessed that so many times. And so if individuals have concerns, that information is publicly available. They know who to reach out to at all times. So thank you for moving this in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the floor?
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. Toby Molesky, 3325 North, 1000 West in Pleasant View. I'd like to address item number 4 as well. I would have to disagree with changing this and restructuring the board. I think hiring the right person, as you've done with Mr. Benyon, to run the health department, and then having the peers who represent the citizens govern that, I think is proper. I sat here a couple weeks back when EDC Utah gave the presentation on economic development, and one of the issues was government regulation. I feel by doing this and as being a past member of this board and some of the conversations we had, we're going to further encumber these businesses with more governmental regulation and stifle the economic development and the job creation here in Weber County by this move. And I wish you would really consider that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any others? Good morning. If you'd state your name for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Marion Horna, and I live at 5841 East Elkhorn Drive in Eden.
Good morning.
And I just want to thank you for making this change as a member of the public. To have hospitals, to have people who actually are out there working on our health, to have that them access to the health board makes this, in my opinion, simply a healthier health board. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a good pun. I like that one.
Anyone else? I'm sorry, but it would be irresponsible for a member of a high school class to sit in a meeting without having to make a comment with regards to how they're feeling. And so I would like the two of you to draw straws and find out who's going to take just a moment and address this delegation. You will get extra credit in your class by doing so, by the way.
We know the superintendent.
He didn't even do paper, rock, scissors. He just
took it. The other guy's driving.
Well, my name is Marcus Laub, and I just kind of wanted to make a comment on the Eden Transportation Agreement. And I think it is a very good idea, and it's a very good step forward. And I think it will improve the commerce between Eden and Huntsville, and with all the ski resorts up there. And I think it's a very good step forward. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
I will just comment to you that in case you need proof that you spoke, that this lives on the social media and anybody can access it. You're a star for the day on TV right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Recognizing none, then I'll entertain a motion for item H.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you. Adjourned for 2 weeks.